Sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Hey!
Welcome back.
Hey guys, welcome back to Nerd Spastics. We are here for the second episode. We hope you all had a pleasant St. Paddy's Day. And yeah. And we know we did. So let's start with what we did last weekend. We saw the DropKick Murphys.
Yeah, celebrated St. Patrick's Day a little bit early with DropKick Murphys.
Yeah, it was a good time. It's House of Blues. And the show started with opening of Blood or Whiskey, which I fairly enjoyed. I thought the opening bands were good.
Yeah, Blood or Whiskey I didn't really care for that much. They were all right. They were just kind of more generic. The Mahones I enjoyed.
Yeah, the Mahonies were, I felt, the better of the two, but I did enjoy both. And obviously, if you're going to come listen to the DropKick Murphys, there's no place better than here in Boston. So.
Yeah, and House of Blues is an excellent venue for that. It's a smaller venue, so you get a more intimate concert than a kind of a bigger venue would allow.
Exactly. So now let's hit right into here because I was a little behind, and I didn't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. until last night. And I'm going to tell you something. That was a great episode.
Yeah, that show is really starting to hit its stride now because the first season it was all right, but now they're really kind of kicking it off.
Yeah, I definitely liked, there was a huge hint there, a huge hint of like when Agent Coulson was talking about how these people with abilities, obviously in the episode, they gathered all the people with abilities. And I felt that was like really cool. You know, it was kind of almost reminiscent of like as sad as it is to say, on a higher, better level, X-Men 3, when Magneto was like, recruiting all these mutants. Mm-hmm. There was a scene in the end of it where Agent Coulson was talking about, you know, these abilities are inside these people, unlike some of the other ones that, like, you know, he took steroids, or, you know, she had her fingertips glued with, like, syringes.
Surgically attached. Yeah, it's kind of the first mention of mutants in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And the fact that he said it's within these people, you're like, in humans, which is definitely what they are. They're they're guiding to what Sky is, which is inhuman, which will be one of the next movies coming out.
Yeah, it's kind of neat that they can't say mutants, but they're definitely touching and implying that to kind of build that in. But I
mean, they're a little different than mutants. I mean, you know, the Inhumans were kind of like this. It's almost going a pre-Inhuman storyline right now. And I think that's really cool, especially since, like, the movie's a little ways away. And maybe this was their way of saying, oh, we don't know if Inhumans is going to be, you know, it's kind of risky. But Guardians was, too. Mm-hmm. It's risky. Can we just kind of sneak this in, starting with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so people who are true Marvel fans, which, I mean, to be honest, will already like Inhumans, but, you know, get them a little into that world set ahead of time.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how they're already laying the building blocks, because Inhumans is slated for, when is that slated for release?
I want to say it's slated for like 2016.
Yeah, so
Summer, yeah.
So almost 2 years earlier, they're already starting to lay the building blocks for that to tie in. The more interesting thing I'll be able to see is the more immediate tie-in is when Age of Ultron comes out. I'm curious to see what role S.H.I.E.L.D. will play in that film, and if they'll mention Hydra at all, because Hydra has been kind of the main force they've been driving against this whole time, but will that kind of disappear with the film, or will Hydra also play a role in Age of Ultron?
Yeah, I agree. And wait, spoiler alert. You know, spoiler alert, by the way, just in case for everybody. That's why I just said that. I'm about to say something that happened to S.H.I.E.L.D. Where they just had the second S.H.I.E.L.D. revealed, which is definitely something you've seen in the the comics. So it'll be interesting to see like if they include this with like maybe the separation of Mara Hill and Nick Fury, or will Coulson be a part of that? Will he be separate? So I mean, I think they're just trying to add up to a bunch of things that will be revealed in Ultron.
Yeah, and is Nick Fury confirmed for Ultron as well?
Yeah, I mean he's right there obviously in the trailer we watched last week. So I'd hope he'd be confirmed, or else they're totally lying to all of us.
Yeah, well, because he made a brief cameo in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we haven't really seen or heard much of him lately at all.
But we do know he's alive, obviously, because there was the whole thing of defect, the underground base and all that stuff. So
Yeah, kind of need to see where this goes with two different shields kind of vying for power and also trying to fight off Hydra. Some exciting news that just came out earlier this week has to do with Sherlock. They announced their Christmas special and that it's actually going to be set in the 1800s. Same cast and everything, but it's going to be an out-of-continuity story that's standalone.
I feel like we're seeing a lot more out-of-continuity stuff recently. I mean, I'm not sure how that is going to play into Sherlock, but I mean...
Yeah, it's going to be really neat to see just because it's the same actors, same characters, but to set them back in the 1800s. And with a standalone story, Steve Moffat was giving an interview saying they couldn't do this story and also incorporate it into the current storyline of the series because they've been breaking it up into 3-episode series of 90 minutes apiece. So it's kind of exciting to see they'll be able to kind of do a unique standalone story, but it'll also be kind of strange to see how these characters, if they play them the same way, if they're set in the 1800s, if everything will be the same, just the time period, or if they'll change up the characters some as well.
So is this would be more of a prequel, right? If anything, I mean,
not even a prequel because it's just standalone. It doesn't have anything to do with what has happened in the current Sherlock series.
See, at the same time, I don't know how fans would react to that because they have this story they're so hooked on and like these characters that in a certain place to have something completely out of context. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange direction to go because, I mean, Doctor Who is famous for their Christmas specials, but at least they somewhat relate to the main storyline.
Yeah, most Doctor Who recently, they've been all regenerations, so they've been huge, actually.
Yeah, so the main kind of part of the storyline is that standalone Christmas special. So this is really in a different direction to kind of take to have it be its own unique thing that's going to have nothing to do with the current storyline, which will be exciting to see because it can stand alone. They can do something different without having to worry about either the results that happen influencing the future events or otherwise.
Yeah. So the other thing we have that's been coming up is with Hearthstone Blackrock Mountain expansion, which we did touch on last week. They've also released some new cards. We'll go over some of them. As of yesterday, the pre-order is available for Blackrock Mountain.
Yes, so that is now live for pre-order, and they don't have an exact release date yet, but it'll be coming out sometime next month.
Yeah, my guess would be like the first week of April, I'm going to say, just because like where the pre-order is right now. And
will they release it and then take it back as an April Fool's joke?
They might. That's a good point. All right, so some cards they've already released, obviously. We have a Blackwing Technician. These are all the neutral cards at first. It's a Blackwing Technician. It's for 3 mana. And the battle cry is if you're holding a dragon, gain +1/+1. It's a 2/4. Now, I mean, I can see where that comes in handy. I mean, it seems like it's going to be very dragon heavy. It's huge, the amount of dragons that they've already been talking about going to be in this deck.
Which is kind of nice to see because before there have been a few dragons, but nothing really major. You couldn't make a dragon deck before this, which it looks like you will be able to once this expansion is out. And they're also doing, kind of starting with Goblins and Gnomes, a lot more cards where something is affected by having something else in your hand. So you gain a boost just by having something in your hand. So it will make it a little bit more difficult to play against someone as opposed to they have something on the board. You know they can now play this in order to get this buff. You can't take that out now if it's just sitting in their hand.
No, exactly. Like Legendary they just released. It's a 8/4 for 7 mana and written in black card hand. And battle cry is if you're holding a dragon, destroy a legendary minion. That is huge.
Yeah, so there's some really neat effects they're starting to come out with where just by having a card in your hand that you have no clue of what the other person's holding, you can do the special ability.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they're going with more. It seems like the egg took off so well, so they're doing another dragon egg, but this time rare, which is a 0/2 for 1 mana, and whenever this minion takes damage, summon a 2/1 whelp, which is definitely unique. Being usually whelps are like 1/1s.
Yeah, and it looks like they're doing almost a lot of stuff that would be helpful with a warrior build, which has a lot of things. Well, they'll do some damage to your own minion and then give it a boost in some
Dragon
way.
egg is Cruel Taskmaster's new best friend. That's
Exactly.
all I have to say. You get a 2/1, and now you have a 2/1 that can attack as well and give you another one when it dies. Yeah, that's its best friend. So they also released, some card backs, which are kind of cool. If you go to the Blackrock Mountain site, I'm sure you can see them. The arena, the new battlefield definitely looks pretty interesting. A lot of just like in WoW, if you've played the Blackrock Mountain dungeon in WoW, a lot of lava. The hammer is there stuck. The anvil, everything you've seen from the game of World of Warcraft is there on the Dex arena as well.
They've done a very good job of creating arenas that are taken from the world of WoW and inputting into Hearthstone.
Exactly, like, and I think it's basically where it all comes from. Like, they want to show exactly, like, keep it true to WoW as much as they can, because that is where all these things are based. So the pre-order is $25 with the card back, just so everybody knows. I believe I'm thinking they are going to do the free first wing again, which is weird because they're doing the pre-order. So
They haven't announced a free first wing yet, so I don't know if they are yet.
they did it last year, and I feel like it was really successful, so I think they will do it here. Right, yep. Oh, wait, no. Apparently it is not it will not be available free of charge, unlike the last one.
So that's a
reading it
departure
here.
from last year.
That is breaking news right here, actually, on the set. So there you go. So going into video games, Nintendo made an announcement yesterday.
Yeah, Nintendo made a big announcement, which everyone has been asking Nintendo for the last 10 years of why they haven't done this. They finally announced that they'll be making games for mobile, but not in the way that everyone kind of expected it would be. Instead of porting all the classic games they have to Nintendo or to mobile for iOS or Android or whatever you use, instead they've partnered with DENA, which is a Japanese mobile gaming studio, to make new games specifically for mobile, but that will use their intellectual property of current characters. So we'll be seeing new games, assuming Mario and Yoshi and all those classic characters, but in brand new titles only for mobile, which is kind of a surprising twist. You figure they would just make a port of Mario.
Or something they've already have. Like, they could easily just take, hey, where's our old NES cartridge for Mario 3? Up, throw it on mobile.
Yeah, and a lot of phones already have emulators that can run those games.
Exactly.
So you'd think that would be a cash cow for them to just take all those ports. And actually, you can already get those on the virtual shop for the Wii U and the DS. So it's interesting that they're going to do just unique mobile games with those characters and not kind of port the old catalog.
But, I mean, at the same time, can you really see yourself enjoying playing a mobile Zelda? Like, I mean, I can understand if they do it right, but, I mean, I'm not a fan of the touch screen.
No, I'm not a fan of gaming on phones in general.
Yeah.
So
I don't see how this is big for them. I mean, I can see how, like, it's a recognizable character name. People on a mobile phone, they see it, they're going to want to buy it. I mean, it's good on them. I just don't see it. It's definitely not going to replace what we already have. So that's why I feel like it's a better bet for them to just rehash some of their older stuff instead of creating this new stuff.
especially when you have those classics that all of us played as a kid and we want to play again, and now here's an easy way to play it on your phone.
Oh,
If you're
exactly.
waiting in line
You give
for
me
5 minutes.
access to Super Mario Brothers 3 or Legend of Zelda on my mobile phone, I might play it. I might download it and play it. I've beat it before. I mean, it's not like I know it's something I want to do or have to do.
But just to have it in your pocket whenever
yeah,
you want.
Exactly. No, and the next thing was the new console. They announced the new console, the NX.
Yeah, they announced that they'll be showing it off next year. So they typically don't do E3. So my guess would be they'll be showing it off at the Tokyo Game Show or something like that. And then maybe it'll come out the following year. But given that the Wii U came out not too long ago and has been a bit of a sales disaster, I wonder if they're already going to be pushing that out or if this will be something else to run alongside it.
I'm not sure. I mean, I know the Wii U probably didn't do as well as they wanted it to do, and maybe that's why they're trying to hurry up and push a new console, knowing that Xbox and PlayStation will not be pushing another console for at least another 10 years or not 8 years from now. Maybe this is their way to jump ahead in the game. That's the only thing I can think of with the NX.
Yeah, it just kind of will disappoint all the people who did buy a Wii U, who are probably their biggest fans, that already have another console announced just a short time later.
Yeah, and those 10 people will be sad. So, moving on into the video game, into the movie world.
Or a combination of the two.
Combination of the two. Scary combination of the two. We're going to talk about the Pixels movie trailer.
Speaking of bombs.
Yes, exactly. Big bombs. Adam Sandler, Kevin James, and surprisingly, Peter Dinklage.
Very strange to see him as one of the headlining actors in this film.
You know, if there's anybody who can destroy the career of Peter Dinklage, it has to be Adam Sandler. So the whole film in general takes place after the government sent the time capsule into space in the 80s, but apparently they took it wrong way, and they saw these images of Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and other 80 video games characters, and they sent giant versions of them to kill us. I just want that to sit in for a second.
Also, it's very strange to see someone like Adam Sandler in more of an end-of-the-world type of film.
An end-of-the-world type of film where giant pixelated characters are trying to kill us.
Very similar to a Futurama episode.
It's not even similar. It is exactly like the Intrology of Interest episode of Futurama. This movie is a direct ripoff of Futurama. And not even a full episode of Futurama. It is a ripoff of a 10-minute segment of Futurama.
It was a great episode of Futurama, but I'm not sure how that's going to translate into a full 90-minute movie or 2-hour movie, however long this ends up being.
Dear God, make it 90 minutes for the suffering of those children and adults sitting there in that theater. Now, the other thing that surprised me was they got the original creator of Pac-Man.
That was impressive. At first, I thought that it was just an actor playing him, but they actually got the real guy.
How do you sit there and watch your creation being destroyed in front of millions of people and be, yeah, this is cool? No, it's not cool. I am sorry, sir.
Well, I mean, it is a way for him to get his name out there for a lot of people who probably aren't familiar with him being the creator of Pac-Man.
That is true. I agree. But, I mean, anybody who cares enough about video game classics and stuff will know this. But, I mean, you're looking towards the Adam Sandler crowd, I guess, for that information? I don't know why you would even bother.
Yeah, this is a very strange movie. This is slated for release this August, I believe.
Yes, August, summer. And this is the first trailer we've ever had for it.
Yeah, so it's not coming out too long from now, and this is the first look we're getting at it.
These are not good signs. So, I don't know. The whole general of this film concept just kind of, it feels like they're really stretching and pulling for ideas right now.
Well, I mean, that's kind of typical for an Adam Sandler film.
It's true.
So there was, he had a movie just about how he had a remote and could rewind and fast forward time. So,
which is taken from, I don't know how many things I could say that was on, but okay, let's move on to another movie-based video game instead, which is much better, which is apparently they just announced that Star Wars Battlefront will be debuted in April at Star Wars Celebration. That is huge news.
That is very exciting and kind of neat that they're doing it. They're kind of skipping or announcing it earlier than E3 and getting it out there early at a special Star Wars event.
Yeah, and I had a feeling this would happen because with the Star Wars Celebration and the new Star Wars film coming out, I know they wanted to have their own properties more towards what they were doing. So and the fact we've been waiting, I don't even know how long it's been since Star Wars Battlefront 2 now.
I can't remember. It's been a long time.
They had Star Wars Battlefront 3 on the books for a long time, but then canceled it. And I know a lot of people were worried after LucasArts closed that we wouldn't be getting it.
So who is the studio that's actually making this? Because there is no LucasArts.
It's actually a division of DICE and EA Games, which did actually have the first 2 games were done by them.
Okay. But that brings up another strange thing in that it's called Star Wars Battlefront, which is the name of the original game. So now we're going to have 2 games in existence with the exact same title.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a prequel. It's not like it's anything. It's just like the same thing, basically. But I think they are trying to add some new stuff from the new movie. As far as I've heard, they're trying their best to get some stuff done for that. But I think it's just going to be like the first 3 films. And I haven't even heard anything about the prequels yet for it.
No, I haven't heard anything either. So I wonder if this is going to be a reboot of the franchise with a similar story of the first game, or if it's just going to be its brand new standalone thing, but with the same name.
I mean, that would be cool. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, to see some things from the tie-in books that they're saying they're making as well.
That's a good point, since that was another new announcement.
Yeah, that was another new announcement. Star Wars Aftermath was announced. The first book of 20. 20 books that will be what happened what happened with the Empire after Return of the Jedi.
Which kind of blows my mind because they just destroyed the entire canon that has existed on the subject matter, and now they're going to build a brand new canon with a string of 20 books.
Yeah, and it's very confusing because you had things like, the games, the comics, everything. They're all gone now. That didn't happen. That's an alternate universe somewhere else in far off space. This is now what they say did happen. And that's why it's going to be 20 books. The first one will be available September 4th. It's called Star Wars Aftermath. And it'll be what happened preceding Return of the Jedi. To me, the first book interests me the most because it's going to take place right after. What did they do when they stopped dancing with those Ewoks?
Yeah, what is the state of the Empire as soon as the Emperor is gone? Who's vying for power? Does the Empire split along lines?
Did Hayden Christensen's ghost end up making it to the other side?
Hopefully. So we don't see him in another film.
Exactly. Which brings us to the other Star Wars news. The biggest Star Wars news, I'd say, was Star Wars Rogue One.
Yes. So the first announcement of a standalone kind of side story film.
Now, if anybody knows what this title means, Rogue One obviously is like Rogue Leader. Like for when they blew up the Death Star, when everything else, there's always a team of Rogue Leader. Luke Skywalker was a Rogue Leader at once. Wedge Antilles was Rogue Leader. And at one point, I believe Biggs was as well Rogue Leader.
Am I correct on that? And kind of an interesting theory I heard would be, what if this is a prequel? Because in the films, they talk about how they obtained the plans for the Death Star. If this would be about actually the team that took those plans.
And it definitely makes sense. I mean, they mentioned, many people died bringing us these plans when they talked about it at first, so.
And what is really interesting, this is going to be the first Star Wars film to star a female character.
Yeah, so it's interesting to think that maybe, it'll be Mon Mothma, which is the leader of the Rebel Alliance in Return of the Jedi, or it'll be somebody new. Maybe it'll be a female rogue leader that we didn't know about before.
My guess is it would be a brand new character, probably a female rogue leader, the leader of the squadron who is on this mission.
A suicide mission if it is for the first Death Star plan. So that'll be more interesting because if it is that, people will know that, most of them, if not all of them, died bringing the plans.
Yeah, so if this is the first major female character to lead a Star Wars film, will they kill her off? Or will they want her to kind of continue and grow and have more films with her?
Yeah, and the big news with this as well was that John Williams will not write the score for the first time ever in Star Wars history. And that's a big deal.
That is huge.
I guess it's going to be done by Alexandre Desplat, who did the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Which had an excellent soundtrack. So, considering the work that he's done in the past, I'm okay with this. But it is a big departure for Star Wars to not have John Williams. But he's also getting up there in age quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously his scores will be used, the main theme or whatever, stuff like that. And he is doing the newer film right now. I guess this just had a lot of big effect of people going, wow, John Williams is not doing the Star Wars theme.
Which I wonder if this means that he won't be doing Episode 8 either.
I could see him doing Episode 8, and maybe he's just taking a step back from the standalone films.
Maybe.
I mean, that seems like the most logical thing to me.
Yeah, because it seems like this is going to be in its own kind of little pocket and have its own storyline and whatnot. It's not going to be part of the episode series.
Because I feel like you're going to have the Star Wars, episode 7, 8, 9, and then you'll have all these individual standalone films in their own Pernal Pocket universe,
And then the timing of this release is also going to be interesting because this is now slated for December of 2016.
Yeah, so it's slated for almost less than a year after this one comes out this Christmas, episode 7.
And then episode 8 is slated for May of 2016. So within 6 months, we'll have 2 Star Wars films.
Which I think they are definitely trying to go with Marvel's way of doing things, which is every 6 months or less, you're going to have a film.
But to then all tie them all together. So you're going to have, so there'll probably be something in Rogue One that at least somewhat relates to episode 8.
Yeah.
Because there's no way they're going to do all these films and not tie them at least somewhat together on the fringes.
It's true. I mean, if it's a prequel, though, it's going to be kind of hard to, I mean, what are you going to do? Have Luke Skywalker walk by the window? Hello!
Just the fact that if it is to get the plans for the Death Star, it's already tying into the series as it is.
It's true. I mean, I don't see it being as big of a point to tie it in if you're going to have the next one in 6 months. I do see it being like you can have little things hinting towards it maybe, but, I mean, you're not going to have a full big tie with these standalone films, I think.
No, I definitely think they'll kind of go with the Marvel formulas. You have all these separate worlds. You have Guardians. You have the Avengers, but they're tied together in little ways.
Yeah, and I mean, and think about it. Think about it. Disney now owns Star Wars and Marvel, putting out films every 6 months. That's a lot of films for one company putting out. I mean, it seems like everywhere I look, Disney is taking over the box office.
They are. I mean, just the amount of money that the Marvel movies have been bringing in recently, and now to add multiple new Star Wars films to that pot is going to be an insane amount of money. But they've done very, very good job with Marvel. Is kind of they own them, but they kind of operate independently. They make their films. They have their own Marvel studio. So hopefully they'll do something similar with Star Wars in that they own the property, they fund the money, but it runs on its own and separately.
I think it will. I mean, they have so many different properties between Lucasfilm and then Marvel and then Pixar.
And now the 20 books.
They have a book tie-in. Star Wars Lucasfilm in general is going to be huge. They're already talking about this new Indiana Jones, which would be done by, Disney as well because they own the rights.
Mm-hmm. And then rumors of Chris Pratt playing Indiana Jones, which
Chris Pratt. I mean, okay. Now we're on the subject of Chris Pratt. I like Chris Pratt. I thought he was an excellent Star-Lord.
And he is also fantastic in Parks and Rec.
I have to take your word on that. I will let it be known to the world I have not watched Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec just ended recently. It was really sad to see it go, but they did a wonderful job with the last season. Really tied everything together nicely with the final episode.
Now, when I talk about Chris Pratt, I liked him as Star-Lord. I like him. However, I cannot take this man seriously.
Well, and I think that would be the problem with him as Indiana Jones, and we'll see how he does almost as an Indiana Jones style character in Jurassic World.
Yeah, that's the thing. I watched the Jurassic World trailer, and that was one of my biggest concerns, was watching Chris Pratt stand there in a window going, "You made a dinosaur? Probably shouldn't have done that."
He's made his career playing a goofball. 2 of the biggest movies of last year, whereas him in the Lego movie as well as Guardians of the Galaxy, both playing a goofball. So I've yet to see him in a serious role and don't know how well he can pull that off.
I'm just saying, like, from the trailer of Jurassic World, I don't see that being the big one to let me know.
And I don't really see him playing an Indiana Jones style character. He has the right look for it, but he doesn't have the right demeanor for it.
No, he definitely has the look. It's just I can't see him. And Indy, was very serious. Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones is a very serious person. He's very, you know.
He was a college professor.
Exactly. When I look at Chris Pratt, I don't see college professor.
Not at
I
all.
am sorry.
And that's okay because he's wonderful in the roles he plays, but those roles are not professors. Even in like personal interviews, like his personality, he's just a goofy person in general.
Yeah, so it's weird. It's hard for me to see him acting like that when he's only pretty much acting as himself most of the time.
Yeah, so I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head who would make a good Indiana Jones, but I don't
Just
think Chris Pratt.
not. How about this? I am okay with Chris Pratt if it's over Shia LaBeouf.
You're setting the bar pretty low there, so
Well, to be honest, he's in line, so
that would be terrible.
I do
Terrible.
not want to see Shia LaBeouf in another Indiana Jones movie. That's all I know.
I don't want to see him in another movie ever again.
I have nightmares of him swinging in trees with monkeys that I will never get over. I think I was traumatized at the age of 27, all right?
That fourth movie was such a disappointment. I was so excited to see Indiana Jones again, and just it was a letdown.
The fridge? How do you stay in a fridge and save yourself from the... I gotta stop, because I'll just keep talking about how awful the fifth Indiana Jones movies. I own this movie. I will say I own this movie because I own the classics on Blu-ray. It is
It came
still
in the box set.
Yeah, it's in the box set. It is still untouched, probably with like the little bit like it's tough to get out of the case because it hasn't been gotten out. Yeah, it's still there. It has not been moved. It will never be moved. End sentence. Now, we were talking about box office numbers earlier. And, yeah, Tristan, why don't you read that number one box office number for me?
Yeah, Cinderella had a blowout last week with 68 million.
Blowout. Not even a close one.
No.
What you said Run All Night, if I remember right, correct?
Run All Night, 11 million.
11 million. This movie got blown out. Obviously, Cinderella, Disney.
Again, Disney at the box office.
Exactly. That's the big thing. They're making tons of money right now.
Given the success of Cinderella and previously Maleficent, which just came out in December, I wonder if we'll see more live action movies based on Disney classics.
It's true. I mean, even think back, Pirates of the Caribbean. That was based on a Disney attraction. I mean, that took off. And now this summer we have Tomorrowland, which is not even based on an attraction. It's based off a Magic Kingdom land.
And then with the success they've had of Once Upon a Time on television.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I have not even switched that on.
I've seen the first two seasons. It was good. It was well done, but they also did a spin-off, which I don't think lasted very long.
No, I believe that lasted like half a season. I do remember that, and I do remember that tanking. And the fact that like all these Disney spin-offs of different things they have in their parks, I mean, there's even a movie being made on just the Magic Kingdom, like in general. Like, let's just not do a section of park. Let's just do the whole damn park. Like, it just surprises me how much they're just shoving anything they have right now onto the screen.
And more surprising is the amount of success they've had with shoving anything from their parks onto the screen. When the first Pirates of the Caribbean was announced, everyone was saying, how are they going to make a movie based on a ride? This is ridiculous. But they actually, for the first one at least, made a very good film that was a huge box office hit and then went on to make 3 more.
But then everybody forgets that at the same time they also made The Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy.
But for every miss they've had once in a while, they've had at least 5 hits that have made huge box office numbers.
No, that's true. I mean, you also have, what was it, John Carter, which was based on a comic book that bombed so bad that the exec of Disney running the studio resigned.
Which is unreal that you have a movie that performs so poorly that it causes an executive to resign.
It happens out there. I mean, we're just seeing it with a couple Sony things happening for the interview. That whole thing happened and how the exec resigned and stuff like that. A lot of them will resign even if it's not their fault, just based on them being in charge at the time of something happening.
Yeah, it's just kind of a scapegoat. I mean, the same thing happened with the hacking scandal and whatnot.
Exactly. So sadly, regarding next week's box office numbers here. Now, we have Insurgent opening, which is the sequel to the Divergent series.
Which I've never read, but I was surprised at how much money Divergent made when that opened last year.
It did. It made a good amount for opening weekend. It didn't. I don't think it might not have had this stiff competition it has this week, though. At least from the weeks before.
True. March is usually a pretty lean month, so I think there's a high chance Cinderella is number 1 again.
Yeah. I mean, we also have The Gunman with Sean Penn which, I mean, everything on it so far doesn't seem.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a big box office hit.
And then there's also Do You Believe?
Also
Yeah.
not a big box office hit.
Yeah,
Oh.
I
Yeah.
can't even go into detail on that one.
I don't know if Insurgent will do well enough to displace Cinderella, but I think it'll probably be close.
It'll be close. I still think Cinderella's going to take number one. I really do.
Considering the success it had last week.
And at this point, Disney owns everything and is the emperor of the world, and I will not discourage the mouse for taking everything again.
So apparently Divergent has a big following for the books, and they're making all the films on them. So
So,
we'll see how it
Tristan,
does.
are you saying you're going with Divergent?
Insurgent.
From the Divergent book series, are you going with Insurgent?
Yes, I'll go with Insurgent.
Okay, I will go with Cinderella again because I think Cinderella's going to take it for a second week.
So I think that's very possible. So we'll see.
We will see what happens. So that is all for this week, at least.
Thanks for tuning in again.
Yep. And next week, we're not sure yet. We hopefully will have maybe an interview, maybe a couple other things going on.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
At least some voice clips. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. See you guys later.